All right, so we got the list of recipes displayed. Next, I want to just make it look a little bit pretty. Even though I asked ChatGPT to use Bootstrap for styling, it's just ignored that request. So let's go back to ChatGPT here, and I realized that I was using the same chat window to talk to it about what's the best video title for this video I just recorded. And I was reusing the same window as we used for the app development. I didn't realize that, so let's ignore some of these parts and continue with asking, can you style the recipe list using Bootstrap? Let's see what's going to happen. I presume it's supposed to use cards, Bootstrap cards. Let's see, loading. List group. It's using list group. Okay, and list group item. Let's ask it to use the cards instead. Could you use cards for the list? Come on. All right, posting 2 different suggestions. Both of them using cards. A little bit hard to spot the difference immediately. But one thing, like, I want to just copy and paste, and I know it's not going to work because here it's still using the ngIfs instead of the @if notation. So let's ask it to get rid of. Replace the usage of ngIf with @if. All right, replying pretty quickly. Well, it's still like, why aren't you not getting that this isn't an incorrect use of if? And it switched. Here it's using it was using @if properly in the previous output. Why is this so hard? I don't know how much I want to wrestle with this versus just doing it myself. Let's see what we got in the code. I didn't look at this in a bit. Front end, source, app, and HTML. Maybe do I have to do it myself instead of copy pasted from ChatGPT? All right, I'm gonna try to do it a little bit of an easier way. So I'm gonna give it here is my recipe list. Could you convert it to use Bootstrap cards? So I'm going to reduce, to make the problem smaller for it. Proper use at 4. All right, this looks like this might work. All right, we can copy this whole thing and then replace this part. Now I don't remember what we did with let. Was it just, it didn't like let? Okay, now it's not highlighting it. Let's see our app reloading. Okay, it is reloading, but so I presume the template under the hood is using cards, but we never added Bootstrap to our Angular app. So let's go take care of that. How do I add Bootstrap to my Angular app? All right, npm install Bootstrap. That makes sense. Copy, go to the command line. Now, here I have 2 panes with Node server running for the backend and the front end, the Angular running. And I'm going to keep them because I need the app functioning. So I'm opening a new tab to do other things. And I was doing some git pushing here, but I'm going to clear that out and execute the Bootstrap installation command right here. Now I got to copy it again, execute it. That should take a moment. Oh, you know what? I just did it at the backend. I don't need to install Bootstrap at the backend. Now, let's open a separate tab window and ask our AI, how do I uninstall npm package? Would it be, can I just try uninstall? Would that work? Seems, oh, look at that. Didn't even need AI. I could just guess and do it right. Okay, so now let's navigate out of the backend folder and go into the frontend folder. And now we can do Bootstrap install. Let me bump it up a little bit, the font size. Okay, zoomed in just a little bit. Now we have Bootstrap. Now let's go back to the instructions. And then what you do is you modify your CSS style. If you're using style CSS, you import your Bootstrap like this. All right, let's find style CSS. Style. Oh, right there. I was right at it. There it is. Now let's import Bootstrap. Okay, reloading the app right here. It's okay. Try to reload. Could not resolve this path. Okay, let's just tell our robot about this error. I'm not quite immediately sure how we would resolve it. Just making sure I pasted the right thing. Yeah, this is CSS, and I'm importing the minified version. So okay, pasting the error that we're getting. Okay, did the installation, and then it suggests use the node modules. Okay, let's try again. Reloading. Okay, no errors this time, right? Okay, let's see. Oh, look at that. Bootstrap installed, and now our recipes are styled with Bootstrap cards. Awesome. All right, let me remove these titles. I'm not in love with them right now. So here I'm going to get rid of this and get rid of this. Let's just have the list. All right, now this looks okay. So the next step, let's make the adding of recipe work. And for now, this is fine. So what I did last time, I just scaffolded what the AI gave me. So let's see. Let me glance at the code. Just at a glance, is it supposed to work? If I look at the template add recipe, it has a submit handler. When I click this is the submit button. All right, and for the fields, let's break it up a little bit. A little extra formatting here for our maximized screen here. So label goes here, and then this label, text area, break it up like this. These line breaks as well. Okay, now it's easier to read. So we have input for the name, which is ng model through new recipe name. What is new recipe? Where is that coming from? It's probably a property. It's got to be a property on the controller. New recipe, yes. Okay, and is there a handler? There's a handler for add recipe. It'll do a post against our backend, and then it should log the success. And then also look at this, it's fetching the recipes after the post. So it's smart like that. So when we post new recipe, the list should refresh and reflect the new addition. So I doubt it's gonna work the first time we try it. So let's open the network tab and the console. Oh, look at that. There's already some errors regarding the add recipe form that we might have to resolve before we try to submit this form. So If ngModel is used within the form tag, either the name attribute must be set on the form control, or the form control must be defined as standalone in ngModel options. You know what? I'm going to copy this error and give it to ChatGPT. Let's see if it can figure something out for us. That's easy to add. So it's suggesting, okay, if the error is about missing name, then add name. And then here it says, then set ngModel options to standalone true. Is that the best solution? I'm lucky I have some experience with Angular. For someone who is relatively new to Angular, this is not going to be helpful at all. So because it's using the form, that's why Angular is complaining. So how about we modify it? I know how to make this work. So I'm just ignoring the suggestion from ChatGPT because I feel like it'll send me down the rabbit hole. So here I'm going to modify. I'm just going to transform this into a div like that. Not dev, div. And then the submit will change. We're going to take it out of here and then put it at the submit button like that, and we'll change it to click. So whenever you click on the submit button, it executes add recipe. And here we'll rename this just to button and see what happens now when the app reloads. All right, the error is gone because we stopped using the form tag. So Angular is kind of, okay, do whatever you want with this. And we're using ngModels on these inputs. So now let's try to add this recipe. We have our network tab to monitor the API calls. Let's clear it. Can I remove some of this clutter somehow? Is there a quick way to do it? Doesn't appear to be so. All right, so let's just do it. Name is test, description, foobar, go. Oh, look at this. It performed the API call. Let's see some details here. It was a post against this URL, okay, and the response, with the payload, it said description of the recipe and the name. All right, and the response from the API was what we expected. Recipe added successfully. This bit of code is in our server JS, right? And it's at the post here. And that is the return status, recipe added successfully. Let's check our file where we keep the data as our temporary storage, temporary database. So there's recipe 1, recipe 2, and look at this, there's the recipe 3 that we added. What I realize is that it's missing the ID and ingredients and instructions. So it's just a missing fields from the create recipe form. But I feel like ID here might be important, and that might be the reason why I'm not seeing the new recipe in the list here. Or maybe, you know what? So in our Angular handler, right here, when we post the new, no, this is a get. When we post the new recipe, we're supposed to see the log message, recipe added successfully. Do we see that in the console log? No, we don't, because from Angular's perspective, this call didn't succeed. It errored out, and the details about it, are we able to see it by expanding this? Syntax unexpected token R from recipe add. All right, so our Angular app received a response from this, from the backend here, recipe added successfully. But I think problem is that it expects a JSON format. So let's tell it to ChatGPT. for our Express JS application, I think Angular expects JSON formatted responses. Will it adjust the implementation just with this little input? Okay, it says just wrap your result in JSON like that. So let's see what happens. So it says send. Can I just change this to JSON like this? Is this correct? Let's try to send another recipe. Scroll it down. Okay, the form is already existing. Go to network again, clear everything, and hit the add recipe button. All right, that's responded. And it's not JSON because you know what? I think I need to restart my backend server. Shut it down, run it again. Now it restarted with the new code. Now I think I can just hit the add recipe button again, make the API call. Look at this. Now it responded with, is that JSON? This doesn't look like JSON format. Or maybe because the header is different now. In the response headers, now this says application JSON. I think that's what was tripping up Angular. Okay, so at this point we have it working. You know what? Just let me update the other responses. Whatever it says send around here, JSON. It's interesting how the recipe list was working without issues with that. But anyway, I'm gonna clear. Let's refresh the page and just do the submission one more time. Test 2 for the recipe description. One more whatever. It can be whatever. Hit the add recipe button. I would see the log message from our Angular component, and I see test 2 here refreshed. And looking at the API calls, that was the post. This was the first one was originally when I refreshed the page and pulled down the list of recipes. This one was our post from the form, and this was the repull the apps, the recipes after the post right here. Okay, so it seems to be working. What's the next step we should do? Maybe add a little bit of styling. I think we should, dress up the add recipe form and add the missing fields, which will include ID, ingredients, and whatever else. Or maybe get rid of those extra fields. I don't care right now. Just the name and description is fine. Yeah, you know what? Let's do that, and then we'll wrap it up for this video. So let's head to the backend and strip away the expectation of. So in the backend, there's no mention of the expected fields, right? It's whatever you send it with your API call. But in the data sample here, for now, I'm just gonna take out the ingredients and instructions to simplify things. We can add it later in later stages when we're making this app more enhanced. So okay, now we just need the ID. We need to make sure the ID is added, because I feel like it'll be a problem down the road. But you know what? Let's not add it until we know why we would need the ID. And I have a hunch we'll need it for the next video. And for this, now to finish this up, let's see, maybe add a little bit of styling to this form. So let's grab what we got. It'll be the template. Grab this form and send it to ChatGPT and ask, could you dress up this add recipe form using Bootstrap? Paste, send, And it's still redoing it into the form format, which I know is going to be a problem. I'm not ready for this kind of refactoring. It's the difference between when you're using simple ng models in the form versus when you use a form builder in Angular. So if you're using the form structure like that, you should use the form builder and not ng models. And I don't want to do this refactoring right now. So I'm going to ask, don't use form, keep it just as div. Will it understand? Okay, I don't think it did any significant modifications here. So let's give it a try. Copy. Paste. Nothing is highlighted. Reloading. Console. Oh, look at that. Now so the form looks fine, but the fetching the recipes broke. And I suspect that's because my latest modification in servers. So for the fetch, this get recipe call. Oh, look at this. I see why it was working. Without me needing the .json. Or actually here it was doing .json, so nothing really changed in... Oh, you know why? Maybe because I adjusted our database by removing some of the fields. So what exactly is not working in our get? Let's look at this. Error fetching recipes. HTTP failure for recipes, unknown error. So if I look at the API call for the get, response, it just didn't respond anything. Didn't respond with anything. So, okay, refresh the page. It is consistent, something about the network. Provisional headers. So, okay, here, I'm going to do Command Z for my latest notification, for my latest updates here. And then I'll refresh the page and still getting the error. Oh, look at this. The server quit because my latest notification probably did something. So it quit. And that's why when I'm trying to fetch the list of recipes in the UI, it's just the browser is getting nothing. All right. I did the Command Z on my previous notifications in server.js, so everything should still work the way it was before. So let's refresh. It should get the list of recipes. No, okay. So each time now I try to make a request, server quits with the error. Let's see, it's complaining about double quoted property name in JSON at position 154. So something about on line 20 in our server.js right here. Oh, okay. So it is something about the way we modified the data. So what I did is I removed those. Look at this. It's highlighting for us. So obscure, man. It's so annoying how JSON cannot have a comma at the last property within the object. Only on the objects that go before the last one, you put the commas. So obscure and unnecessary. So what I'm doing right now, server JSON, restore my changes where everything I modified everything to make sure it returns in JSON format. All right, start the server. And now I expect this to work. Okay, now it's working. And let's test our newly styled form. So let's say test3, description, whatever, add recipe, made the API call, and it showed up right here. All right, so now our submission form is working and it's dressed up. And the list is working. And then next time, I'm not sure which points we should put this form as maybe a pop-up hidden behind the button, maybe somewhere around here, or as a separate page. But for now, this is good. Next time, we'll figure out how to delete a recipe, how to make the delete button work. That's where I suspect we'll need to make sure every recipe has a proper ID. All right, let's wrap it up. Oh, you know what? I just remember, as part of each one of those, I make sure I commit the changes to the repository, so you can just see the whole thing without watching the video if you want. So here, let's run git status. And these are the files we modified during this video, and I think this is fine. You know what I like to do? I usually check. So I'm in the front end directory. I go out and then status one more time. These are the files, and then I go git diff. Just look at the modifications of the files. All right, so this is the database file, and then changing all the send to JSON in the server in Express.js, and then adding Bootstrap to our front end. Okay, this is a long file, and then modifying the template in the app component, using to use Bootstrap styling and making things work, and adding Bootstrap to style. All right, all the changes seem to be appropriate, so I'm going to go ahead and commit with the name of what we did here, make create recipe work. Commit, and then git push origin. What is the branch we're using? This one, follow along. All right, now it's up in the repository, and now we can finish it up.